L. Johnson as founder, I mean not as founder, but as present president of Prentice Institution here in Prentice, Mississippi. I'm sure you have great insights into the significance of Prentice and other independent institutions such as Piney Woods School that was founded in 1909 and Utica Institute, which was founded in 1903, and Prentice, your institution, was founded in 1907. So I wondered if you could tell us something about your feelings relative to the significance of these three institutions in the development of education in Mississippi for blacks.
Suppose we say that these three institutions are sister institutions, and on all three are outgrowths of the Booker T. Washington concept of education of the head, the heart, and the hand. When these schools were being founded, Tuskegee, with the Tuskegee idea, was the funded area of black education, the only area that could get funds for support. And unless Tuskegee recommended you, there was a very small chance that you could receive contributions from the foundations or from public, not necessarily from public sources, from private sources. For Tuskegee had been accepted as the ideal for education of black folk. So when Mr. Holsclaw came to Mississippi, he brought the Tuskegee idea to the state. And then a year or two later, when Prentice Institute tried to get going, they had to secure a recommendation from Mr. Holsclaw before Dr. Booker T. Washington would approve their work here. At that time, about 90% of the contributions for black education were channeled directly through Tuskegee. Many of the contributions we received were first sent to Tuskegee, and then Tuskegee would forward them on to us. Mm-hmm. And that was just the fact of life at that time. And Piney Woods began also with this concept of that the foundation of a group had to be based on a good, broad, sound economic policy. And unless we taught youngsters to glorify labor and taught them to have a high respect for doing any job well, that'd be a sad leak in their culture someplace. And so that was the beginning of this program. These three institutions feel this great need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now we were down at Piney Woods just last Sunday, and I understand that they are still in 1973 trying to do exactly that same type of thing. Now, is Prentice Institute trying to do the same type of thing?
Exactly. I would say no. Mm-hmm. Changes have come, and we hope that we can shift with the changes. I don't think we need to go into that too much, but the federal government is uh, placing thousands and thousands, millions of dollars through certain of these technical type courses now. And it takes so much equipment to give them that hardly any private school can compete with the federal government at this level of operation in the training of youngsters in vocations. And that's true of the private schools throughout the nation, that the money for the funding of these technical schools is coming more and more largely from federal sources. Title III programs, for instance, and Title I programs. We have a new unit just established just a half mile down the road from us that has a $500,000 starting capital to operate on. And so we have made changes, but the changes we think are being made in the light of the broadening opportunities for black people and the new opportunities that are open to black people and the new aspirations that have come to us. Our sights have been, I started to say lifted, but I mean our sights have been redirected.
Redirected. I think that's a good phrase.
Yes, and for that reason we have made quite a few changes in our program.
Yeah, well, I think change is always very good. I understand that Dr. Jones feels very satisfied that he has accomplished what he set out to do. Um, and we are going to talk primarily about Piney Woods today on this interview, and perhaps some other time, or I'm sure at some other time, we will be discussing Prentice Institute as such. But it's good to see how the two schools relate even today. Could you describe for us, just briefly, how you first heard about Piney Woods?
Well, like Top said, I think we just grew. When I came to Prentice, I was 2 years of age, and then just about 4 or 5 years after that, Piney was organized, and it just grew up with us because these heads of these institutions um, operated rather closely together. I would think that there was a very close working relationship between Piney Woods and Prentice Institute, and the heads of these two institutions were constantly together, and they were meeting each other. And when they would return to their homes, when my father returned home, well, certainly he would always be conversing about what was going on at Piney Woods. They visit the heads of these two institutions visit each other very, very often.
And your father was J.E. Johnson.
J.E. Johnson.
Dr. J.E. Johnson, and
And
Dr.
then,
Jones was the founder of Piney Woods, Lawrence C. Jones.
and then my mother was in the early part of our history, became interested in club work. And Mrs. Jones was a very active person in club work and introduced Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. J.E. Johnson, my mother, to come into club work, become active in it. In fact, when Mrs. Jones was president of the State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs, she appointed Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. J.E. Johnson, to head up the drive of the committee that was organized to work for a delinquent home. This had its beginning in Mrs. Jones's administration, and until the objective was finally reached during the administration of Governor Paul B. Johnson Sr. Mrs. J. Johnson remained uh, the driving force behind the efforts of this group to secure a delinquent home, a training school, which was organized at Oakley for
that was the beginning of Oakley.
the beginning of Oakley.
Oh, I see. That's
And the Enabling Act was passed during the administration of Governor Paul B. Johnson Sr. But Mrs. Jones um, can be said to be the individual who started the movement for it. And Mrs. Johnson is the one who carried it on to fruition after Mrs. Jones had passed.
Yeah, I think that would be that speaks well for Mrs. Jones and her relationship with the black people in the state of Mississippi.
Well, many things can speak well for Mrs. Jones, but she spoke well for herself. She had the reputation of being a very cultured individual. She had integrity, and she was highly respected by all who knew her. The moral tone of Piney Woods was embodied in her spirit, and people who thought well of Piney Woods always knew that Mrs. Jones was a moral force, behind that institution.
That's interesting.
Mothers who sent their daughters there, who wanted to grow up to be like Mrs. Jones.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always good that black people have always had these women and men to look up to as leaders and sort of ideal type people. Now, you spoke very highly of Mrs. Jones. Can you talk anything about the, let's say, fluctuating reputation of Piney Woods School among blacks in the state of Mississippi?
Well, all of these institutions started out with, some opprobrium connected with them, because everybody thought at that time that these schools were going to teach people to be servants in white people's kitchen. And this was not their objective. Their objective was to teach people to do the jobs they were going to do anyway, do them skillfully. And because they would be skillful, they could secure higher rates of pay, develop living wages, and be able to provide for themselves some of the comforts of life, as well as be able to raise families which would be on a high economic level than their predecessors were.
In essence, it was basically for the uplifting of black people.
Well,
for
certainly,
their
but you
horizon.
see, when the blacks saw these schools going up, the main thing they're trying to teach these youngsters is just how to work on somebody else's farm and how to work in their kitchens. Well, uh, it would be fine if they learned how to work in their own kitchens
Right. That's something
and their own
that
farms.
has occurred to
See,
me that maybe much of the publicity that was given out, let's say like a man, by a man like Dr. Jones, when he was talking to white people, is to tell them what they wanted to hear, perhaps rather than what he was actually trying to do.
well,
Maybe what I'm trying to
you
say is that maybe white people wanted to believe that this is what was going on.
these two men was Professor Johnson and Mr. Jones and I would say that President Holsclaw was a more direct speaker than either one of these two. But Dr. Jones and um, and Professor Johnson had the habit facility, both of them, being able to talk to mixed audiences, and be able to relate to both groups. Very few black leaders anywhere have ever been able to do that.
That's very true. That takes a great man, I would think, to relate to two ethnic
It
groups
certainly,
and keep them
it
both
certainly takes a
satisfied.
skillful individual anyway.
Right. Uh-huh.
And it's so easy for diplomacy uh, to shift into duplicity. And you are walking a narrow ledge when you try to be truthful and try to be honest with both groups and try to say what you mean when you talk
Right.
without one group feeling that you have shifted over to one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And either shift is fatal
Mm-hmm.
in black leadership. On one side you have Uncle Tom, and the other you have
Yeah, well, even in spite of that, and I understand what you're saying, relative to that question, the schools have contributed a lot in terms of the development of black individuals, either in their home, in their professional outlook, and whatever. Uh, because I think it was probably the types of things that the students were exposed to in the schools that made them want to be uh, more independent in terms of for whom they would work and the types of jobs that they occupy.
you think the high quality of instructors who became examples to the youths that attended Piney Woods certainly inspired these youngsters to want to achieve to greatness. And Mr. Jones was able to send youngsters off to the senior colleges around the nation, and who came back. Most of them came back to the South and helped to improve the situations where they were. And I would think that former president of Alcon College, Dr. Otis, is an example of just how this went. Professor Johnson and Dr. Jones were asked to select a president for Alcon College.
Now,
Just
you
simple
recall
as this.
when this was and who it was?
Oh, it's just prior. I won't give you dates now,
That's all right.
but it's just prior to the election of Dr. Otis to the presidency of Alcon College, leading up to it.
Right.
Now, at that time, there was a vacancy, and the Board of Institutions for Higher Learning, the College Board at that time was called, asked Professor Johnson and Dr. Jones to select the president for them. They had quite a few groups to come in, and quite a few individuals to come in, but they kept looking for somebody else. Myself, I was pulling for a good friend of mine, and I won't mention these names, but most Alcornites know who that man was. I was with the Alcornites and the man that they wanted for the president of Alcorn College. But the board decided that they needed someone else, and they didn't elect this man. I was quite disappointed. But
What kind of qualities were they looking? Did they have some certain
so,
types of qualities they wanted the man to have?
they weren't specific, but you were in the minds of whites through that era, in that period. First thing you wanted somebody who could get along with the Board of Institution of Higher Learning.
Yes.
That was the first prerequisite. However, a lot of the people they thought they were getting for those fit into the category that they had in mind, they were people too who knew how to speak with forked tongue, and they very often didn't get what they thought they were getting. Now, for the presidents of Alcorn College in the past have been men of integrity and they've been outspoken and after we were elected, everybody wondered how in the world they could have gotten these men, knowing the criteria that is set up into the minds of these people who did the selecting, knowing what criteria they had in their minds.
Right.
They failed every time in getting the kind of man that they wanted. And certainly the president they got, Dr. Otis, didn't fit into the category they thought they were getting one into. Now, so my mother, from about midnight one night, told Professor Johnson, I know the man for the president of Alcorn College. And they said, well, he asked her, well, who is it? He says, Dr. G.R. Otis. Now, Dr. Otis is a graduate of Piney Woods, and he came from this community right here, just about 6 miles away from Prentice Institute. Yeah. And Mrs. Johnson had encouraged him to go off to school because he came from one of these families with such background that he wouldn't have gone to school here. You know, upper class families.
Oh, that kind.
Yeah, upper class family. And she encouraged him to go to Piney Woods. And he did. And he finished high school there. And Dr. Jones got him got a scholarship, had him go to University of Iowa. So it was at Iowa State, I believe. And there he went into agriculture. And then he went from there to Cornell. He got his doctorate up there. He and Dr. Patterson were close friends. And he and Dr. Patterson came into Tuskegee together. And they stepped together the first night they were there. Dr. Patterson went on to the presidency of Alcorn. And then Dr. Otis went on to the man head of the Department of Agriculture, which soon grew to be the most important division at Tuskegee. So Mrs. Johnson knew J.R. Otis well. And Professor Johnson called him immediately on the telephone. The next day by daylight he was here.
Wow. Quick
And
transportation.
then they accepted him as president. Certainly Mr. Jones would favor him because that's one of his own graduates.
His own graduates.
And
Speaks
then
well
he-
for his institution.
Yeah, well, certainly. And Dr. Jones and Professor Johnson gave him a recommendation, and he went on to the presidency of the college. And he did a very, very fine job there as its president. Now, there is an example of the work of the second generation of Lawrence C. Jones people, you see? How he extended his own self, his own personality, and his own outlook through his graduates.
Do you have any recollections about ways that Piney Woods raised money? I noticed earlier you said something about people having to have the endorsement of Booker T. Washington, and I don't know that Dr. Jones ever met Booker T. He may have, but I don't recall that.
Well, the Booker T. Washington experience was just known to all blacks
Yeah,
at that
I
time.
understand that.
And I'm sure that he met him on some occasions. But Piney Woods used its group of singers and then later on its baseball team
Oh,
to
yeah, I
travel.
recall some things about
Yeah.
that. Uh-huh.
In the summertime, they'd get the baseball team and they'd travel up through all throughout the nation.
Hmm.
And we had groups of singers at Prince Institute, and we had run into their groups all through Iowa,
Yeah,
Nebraska.
I was wondering if there was any sort of competition, if you know, having three private institutions in the same state trying to get money, maybe from the same people. That's one of the reasons I asked the question. I
Very
wonder.
often that was true.
Uh-huh.
And we had been in, let's see, we were in a town in Iowa, and we were just down the street about 2 blocks away. Piney Woods had a group. They were singing in that group that night.
Hmm.
And we were singing at the Methodist church just about a couple blocks away.
Hmm.
And we were running these groups all around the country.
But I'm sure there was enough money, you know, for both
Well,
groups. And
yes,
the problem
yeah.
there.
But money was very, very scarce in those years, in those days.
Uh-huh.
But the people in Iowa knew Mr. Jones as uh, their boy, and that wasn't derogatory.
Hmm.
They call him
Their
says,
native son.
their son. Uh, how's Lawrence getting along?
Yes.
And if you didn't know Lawrence C. Jones, and you're in the state of Iowa, you've had it. You might just put up and go.
You're uninformed.
You're uninformed. And so when we would get up to make our spiel, I shouldn't call it a spiel, but our pronouncement, our announcement about the activities of Prince Institute, we would begin with Piney Woods.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say we're a sister
Good
institution.
point. Uh-huh.
Sister institution.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. And it opened doors for us all over the state of Iowa.
Mhm.
I'm sure sure that Piney Woods is the best publicized institution, black institution, that's grew up in the state of Mississippi.
I would think so because you know, it's very well represented across, you know, the country and in
Yes.
other areas. Do you want to talk anything about traditions at Piney Woods that you've heard about, or the value of what the school has meant? I understand that both Prentice, Piney Woods, and Utica started out basically with the same type of philosophy. Uh, Maybe there are some type of continuing things. You explained to us initially that Prentice Institute has changed its direction. I believe now you only have junior college.
Now we have 2 years of high school
Two
also.
years of high school.
You see, the high schools now are going up all around the area, and most of them are preparing folk for college. And most students in Mississippi now have access to a good high school, more or less good high school.
Mhm.
Well, our institution is gearing itself toward those institutions that those youngsters who just didn't get a good exposure
Mhm.
at that good high school. They were cutting paperwork when they should have been in class.
Mm.
And we are steering toward that area.
Mhm.
And I learned at Piney Woods, because Piney Woods is students from around the nation. You have more of them from out of state than we have.
Mhm.
They are more cosmopolitan in their student composition, which certainly affords cultural enrichment to the youngsters who attend school there. That should be very, very valuable to them. Now, traditions, Piney Woods has always had a so-called work tradition that you learn to work. I don't know what tradition it could be any better for any tradition. This is not derogatory.
I understand that. I've
This is
learned
in-
to
this is-
appreciate it.
Yeah, this is in praise
Mhm.
of the institution, because you see, black youngsters uh, took the Bible literally that work was a curse.
Mhm. That's because of the way it was presented to us.
Why, certainly.
Circumstances.
Why,
of
certainly.
which we work.
And that's it's the outgrowth of our black experience, slavery down to the present time. That that God cursed man and told him he had to live by the sweat of his brow.
Mhm.
And if man sweating out there, well, certainly he couldn't be godly. So Piney Woods has had an uphill fight to teach appreciation for doing these common tasks, doing them uncommonly well. And Prentice Institute has had a part in that same thing. It's There's still some need for it, and the same vocational concept that Utica, Prentice Institute, and Piney Woods had, and we began it here in the city. Well, the idea has just been taken completely away from us by these other institutions.
How do you mean that?
Oh, you go to any of the junior colleges, the state-supported junior colleges,
Mm-hmm.
their program is geared 95, 100%, not 100%, but it's very close to it, to vocational training.
And they probably are very modern in what they do.
They are very modern what they do. They have the equipment that that senior technical colleges don't have. You can go to some of the junior colleges in Mississippi now and find them just over-equipped with materials to work with, supplies, and with the equipment that's needed for technical courses. And this is the type of thing that these institutions, Piney Woods, Prentice, and Utica, just dreamed about. And we had to we had to make bricks without straw. And we out there teaching students to literally Piney Woods making brick.
Right.
Literally to make brick.
Yeah, I understand they're still doing that.
Yes,
even today.
Well, all the blocks in this building you just passed down there, those blocks were made by student labor here. Right out there on those grounds there.
Do many of the student board here at Prentice?
Yeah, most of our students board. And we were trying to get them to be more of a community type school where more of them would come in. But youngsters want to get away from home.
Oh, they sure do. We sure do at any time. Because I know that was one of my aspirations, was to go someplace else to school. And I think you probably addressed yourself to this question. Perhaps I can rephrase it, and you can respond in sort of a general way about the value of having educational institutions sort of evolve to, with the culture. And maybe talk about your feelings as to how you feel Prentice has done this or is doing it. I get the feeling that Prentice is trying to actually do this. And I'm not quite sure that Piney Woods is concerned about where the rest of the world is going right now.
Well, the youngsters use the term relevancy, you know, and you hear accountability, and all of the terms that will one day be supplanted by other catchy terms. But any institution must be responsive to the needs of the people it serves, to the broad community in which it lives. And the community is growing larger and larger, and the world growing smaller and smaller. And so now that any one of our graduates who is here today, he could be in South Africa tomorrow. And so we can't any longer educate people for the community that is the 2-mile community in which the school exists. You've got to let your lines go out throughout all the area and to serve people everywhere. And these institutions, you commit it by phasing out, letting the state take it over. And,
so it's completely controlled by the state.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a public institution now.
How long has that been? Is it
Oh, it's been for years now. Yeah, somewhere back in that time. Yes. And the only stable one of these other institutions is Piney Woods. Piney Woods with this nice endowment, and after its funds that were secured through the This Is Your Life program, it has a stability that Prentice Institute does not have. It does not. Prentice Institute does not have fiscal responsibility. That's what the accrediting agencies tell us. But Piney Woods does have it.
Yes.
And the future of Piney Woods isn't for me to predict, for it'll be, I'm sure it'll be changing to meet the changing needs of people. And I can't predict the future of Prentice Institute, for ours is going to be a largely fiscal problem. And black institutions everywhere will be making changes for there's going to be a meeting of cultures as you associate with other people. You know, one culture comes in touch with another. Well, then there's going to be give and take, and there's going to be integration of these cultures. There'll be some fusion of cultures, and the time will come when there'll be, oh, Bilbo says amalgamation.
You wouldn't like that, though, would you?
No, amalgamation. And but what I'm trying to say is that that
Yeah.
that we are going to move in the direction of other cultures because we're going to be affected by it,
Right.
and the other culture is going to be affected by us. The little lady this morning was when she passed out. I told her, and she's this blonde something. I told her that she's about to become a soul sister
Mm.
because she was trying to imitate um, Mr. Cunningham, who's graduated Jackson College,
Mm.
and who plays this gospel music, you know.
Mm.
She hadn't learned it yet, but she was trying her best to play like Cunningham, you see. And so the whole white society is going to get some soul. They're listening to it now, and they are participating in it. It's becoming a part of them.
I just hope they don't really take it over from us, and so it won't have any identity with us.
But I'll tell you what they'll do. They'll take it and sell it.
If they
They'll
do
they'll
that.
make the money from it.
Yeah.
And we may be selling it. We may be enjoying it and singing it
Mm-hmm.
and responding physically to it. But when the cash register responds, they're behind the cash register. You can just put it down to experience. And I'm hoping that there'll be some growth on our part in that direction to again what Piney Woods has done to teach that you've got to have a financial background. You've got to learn how to make a living, and you've got to go into business. You see, and that's their tradition. Well, if they do these things, they'll be able to take part of the things that we have achieved, and if they have financial value, that part of this return will come back to the group. You see,
Right.
just as it is now going directly to these other people who function the capital and function the management and exploiting.
Yeah. This is not really related to Piney Woods as such, but a general question about the need for us to keep black private institutions at some point. I mean, that black people should assume responsibility. There are only two. Your Prentice is still independent, and Piney Woods is, I guess, in a sort of way, independent. And I feel that I sort of feel the need for this, somehow.
And institutions like Tougaloo and Russ,
Yes.
and also institutions that'll be like Jackson College and Alcon and Mississippi Valley State, that as other institutions are predominantly one side,
Mhm.
they also will continue to be predominantly another side. For these institutions in the past have had a reputation of training the black leadership,
Mhm.
and especially the independent schools. The black leadership of the independent
That's right.
schools has come out of these schools.
That's one of the things I'm concerned about. I fear that with integration, that we might not get the type of black leaders that we've had emerging, let's say, in the last 10 years or so.
Well, I hope that our institutions won't try to become white, nor do I hope that black people will try to become white.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really shouldn't use that kind of language on the tape, but I was introduced at
But I
the,
think that's very clear. It says what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it says what many other blacks would be interested in.
It's
And perhaps a number of whites, they have their private academies. So.
Well, if you get beyond the private academies and get into institutions that are independent, Harvard, Yale, Columbia,
Mhm.
independent institutions, they will be predominantly white, and glory in their spunk.
Mhm. That's
then
why I want us to keep our
And they will have blacks enrolled there.
Right.
so that they'll have those of us who will be able to profit from their cultural heritage and educational uh, past experience. But on the other hand, I'm hoping that Fisk and Talladega and schools of that kind will continue to exist with a predominance of black students, true enough, but some whites who want to come in and be soul sisters and soul brothers,
Yeah.
get part of the black experience, you see,
Right.
and swear that they can go back to their own people and become missionaries or interpreters of this variance in culture, and again bring us together. You see,
Right.
so there's a place for all of it.
Yes.
I think that the schools, black schools, gonna need to enroll some whites so that our youngsters can learn to live with those that they're going to have to associate with in life.
And at the same time have some security in their culture. I mean,
Right.
that is their
Yeah.
black culture.
They're gonna have
and their
control
black-
of it.
Right.
They're gonna have to
Controlling.
exercise
That's right.
this
I think that's a key word there,
yeah.
controlling.
Because without control, others will be directing your destiny, which includes your experience and your culture and all these things. Yeah, see? But you need to shape it yourself. Then it's yours. Otherwise, it becomes somebody else's.
Right. We've got to have our Harvards and our Yales. And
We
have to keep
certainly
it.
have. Uh-huh.
Right.
That's the reason I'm so glad to see these big groups like Southern Association, or secondary schools and college. They set these standards, but the standards they set are based upon the white uh, culture,
Right.
and they are forcing all black institutions to come in for accreditation, come into this mold, and they all want us all come out like little sausages or like little uh, hot dogs, all strung together, and you can't identify one from the other. See,
Right.
heaven forbid that when the black institutions go down through that mold, they're gonna come out and you can't tell one from the other. See, yes, let's have standards. I agree with standards, but let's give these institutions the opportunity to have individuality along with this. Something that they can call their own culture, their own background, and same as you have institutions in Turkey for the Turks,
Right.
Greece for the Greeks,
Right.
and France for the French. So also, let there be some in America, some institutions that be blacks for the blacks. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can't go to the University of Sorbonne,
Right.
or Wittenberg. We can go there, see, and learn to speak that German and come out talking guttural just as they do. But when Saturday night comes, we'll want to go back across the tracks where we can relax and be ourselves with our own people.
Hey, I think that's one of the things that maybe we have lost. Well, look, Dr. Johnson, perhaps we have taken up quite a bit of your time. I wonder if you have any recollections or anything that you want to say about Piney Woods and Dr. Jones as sort of a summary of what we've tried to talk about. Maybe I left out some points you want to bring out.
Well, there isn't just anything hardly left to say about Dr. Jones. It's all been said and said so much better than I could. He is the best known black citizen of this state. He has made a contribution to education that is unexcelled in our state. He has done a great job in bringing blacks and whites together. Similar to the expression I used today with talking about Charles Evans, that Dr. Jones has been able to go to the whites and in Mississippi, through the nation, and especially to the people, these whites in Mississippi. He relates to them, and he has been able to let them see their responsibility as it pertains to the black youngsters in Mississippi, that we can live together, that we can work together. He's one of the first faculties. His was one of the first faculties to be an integrated faculty, and it wasn't advertised all around the country. It didn't have any science place up the faculty at Piney Woods was integrated. But as far as I can remember, there have been whites who've been down there casting their lot with the Piney Woods project. And we learned to, the students up there learned that that white people were people,
Hmm.
and not gods, nor devils.
Mhm.
There's no place in between the minds of the average black youth. In fact, the very few more places gods. They're mostly placed in that other category. But we learn that you youngsters learn that, and he's brought this experience to. He brought the cooperation of men in finance, the leaders of industry, have come down to Piney Woods, and he has sold them to the Piney Woods experience. I think that Mr. Jones has this one happy facility when I sort of would envy him having. He can sell an idea.
Oh, he can. He does
And
that very
if
well.
I were going to pick out one area in which uh, he was, he excelled the most, that he can take an idea and sell it.
He's
And
a good is that what you call a personal relations man?
yeah,
Public
that's right.
relations man.
Yeah, that's right.
Public relations.
But more than that, it's the selling of ideas. Public relations, I mean, generally you think of them as advertising, stunt type of thing.
Mhm.
Well, there's no chicanery about his. He sees a value. He sees something in things that other people don't see. It was a magnolia tree planted on Piney Woods campus. And if you don't mind, Dr. Jones will draw lessons out of that tree that you'd never thought about. And when you leave Piney Woods, you leave Piney Woods, you leave with the idea that, or with the feeling that magnolia tree is the greatest idea in the world
Mhm.
because it came from Dr. Jones. And he could sell it to you just that well. So I would think then that Dr. Jones is, I know that he's one of our top educators, and certainly his contribution will go down in the annals of history as a very significant achievement. What galls me a lot is that people write these histories, and then they can uh, do it without referring to the contributions of schools like Prentice, Utica, and Piney Woods.
That's true. I checked that out yesterday. They don't very much.
You have these research people, highly qualified, highly talented, highest degrees, but their sights are over those achievements which actually have survival value. And somebody can come in and write the history of Mississippi and fail to mention Mr. Jones' name. But anybody who does that is he's just not aware of what's happening.
Mhm.
And it's a sad thing, but it's still true that that's what's going on. You had the recent history written here, the history of the state of Mississippi. And these three schools were hardly given a praise. Yeah.
I was just, well, needless to say, I guess as everyone, I was very disappointed with even the total amount that they have for Black history. And to leave out such a significant portion of Black educational development, I think it just reflects that the historian is not objective. That's the least you can say
Well,
about it.
I heard Dr. Rogers up there at Jackson College say that you must always keep in mind that history is his story. His history.
Right.
His story.
Very true.
Is that in? And it's sad because you would think that when a man gets the title of being a historian, he could be objective. But Dr. Rogers says no man is objective. He only writes from his standpoint.
That's very true.
And but it's true, but it's sad. And
So we're going to have to write our own history.
that's the reason makes this type of thing very, very valuable. That you're getting some input from blacks, and that it's late. And I hope that as you get about see these other people that you have more input that'll be available to people, scholars that come along now through history.
Right. So Dr. Johnson, I want to thank you
Yeah.
for consenting to this first interview with us.